Yes, I think I should first apologise to anybody who thinks I'm going to come up here and talk about trains, because I'm not going to. I'm here, yes, in two capacities, one as Director of Birmingham Architects, but also as the newly appointed Design Chair of HS2. I'm going to touch a little bit upon the design vision, but what I wanted to do today is give you a sort of reflection of how I see it, of how the ethos that's within this design vision is reflected in the work of my own practice, DRMM Architects, or Dorica Marsh Morgan Architects. So the vision was put together by HS2. It was published to coincide with my appointment, and a group of academics, professionals, practitioners, through a number of workshops came together to help and assist HS2 to put this vision together. It's intended to be the backstop for HS2. It is a sort of black and white document, even though it's in beautiful colour. I have a copy of it here. It's there to remind those working on High Speed 2 and those of us who will be ultimately using High Speed 2 to hold HS2 to account on a number of things. They've chosen three particular focuses of their attention: people, place, and time. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about people. I'll touch upon the words in the vision, which says, paid for by the taxpayer, HS2 must be designed to deliver planned social and economic benefits. What does that mean? If you're somebody in HS2 and you're given that vision, what does that mean? How do you know when you've achieved that kind of success? Well, the success, as they put it, means that it works intuitively and effectively for everybody. It engages with communities that are affected, and it works with the best design talent, that it's truly collaborative. I'll come back to that later. The two words that I want to pick out of that is intuitive and collaborative. And also, I want to talk about engagement. I want to talk about public engagement. For me, when I think about people and I think about what makes people healthy, what makes people happy, what makes a city somewhere of wellness, well, for me, it's about the ability to socialise, to share experiences, to congregate, to connect, not in a forced way, but in a way that's done on your own terms. Great design should be intuitive. It should be provocative, and it should offer the opportunity for the sublime, the unexpected, the ridiculous. It's what brings the richness and joyfulness to a city. DRMM were commissioned by the Design Festival to put an installation, to create an installation for the festival using timber, which is something, if you know anything about our practice, we are very happy to do. We took inspiration from Escher and the Endless Stair because we felt that stairs were somewhere that really did, if you like, they were places of communication. If you're like me and you will always talk to somebody on the stair, because I'm very, I feel like in that way that if you don't talk to anybody as they go past, you have terrible bad luck. So for me, stairs are always places of connection, of places to talk. We designed something called the Endless Stair. It was a stair with no real purpose. It was completely reconfigurable. You could configure it in any way at all. It was supposed to be an endless stair, a stair to the sky. It used very cheap material. It was a solid hardwood. In America, they have something called tulip wood, which, although is a hardwood, they burn it. They don't see it that it has any value at all. So what we did was say, okay, if you take this wood and you turn it into something called cross-laminated timber, and you put it together in a way that offers great strength and stability, you can produce something of great beauty. So what is Endless Dare? Endless Dare is really, it's an installation. It's an installation that went outside of Tate Modern. And I think when you see it from a distance, you wonder what it is. It makes people feel inquisitive, intuitive. They want to go and walk up it. They want to experience it. It has endless possibilities for those of it who will use it. It also offers a different type of dynamic to a public space that would generally be completely empty. And I think when you talk about people and you talk about objects or things that bring people together, that ignite them, that excite them, that allow them to do things that you probably would never experience or expect them to do. This is a dance group, flash dance group, who occupy public spaces, and they used the stair to do one of their productions on. So I just think for us it was there for a very, very short period of time, but it provoked a huge sense of curiosity, and it was a sort of natural magnet for people just to enjoy themselves. It had no real purpose, it had no real agenda, but the public found something useful to do with it. Place. So the second focus of the vision is about place, and again I'm going to read a little bit from the actual vision for you. It says, HS2 will expand our choice of where to live, work and visit by connecting our cities with ease and speed. To do this, many new places and spaces will be created. Regeneration, or I think we should also now say renaissance, I'm not sure they'll reprint this for that very reason, identity and environment must therefore be considered. And again, how do they engender success? How do they say, well, when this happens, we will know that we have achieved what we've set out to do? Well, the vision says when HS2 supports wider regeneration and connectivity to improve quality of life. Local projects reflect their context, but contribute to HS2's overall identity, and all schemes meet rigorous environmental standards. Well, I would hope that that goes without saying. But what does place mean to me? How in our own practice do we think about creating great spaces to live? Well, this is a project in King's Cross, which I think is relevant in many ways as a great example of how to regenerate a transport hub. I think there are some very simple things you can do. If you're offered a plan, or in this case, an outline planning consent with, for instance, 10% double aspect, and you think hard, as we do often, about how can you create community groupings and how can you create better quality of life for those spaces that you live in. Well, for us, that's about double aspect, for instance. It's not necessarily about size, because I think that size can be created by the feeling of space. It can be created by the sense of light. It can be created by the sense of connection. And if you have a number of apartments around a small core, then not only do you get the efficiency that developers want, but you get to know your neighbour. You get to know your neighbour because you have reconfigured, as we did, into these 4 towers. And if you get to know your neighbour, then you begin to create your own small sense of community. And by using a sawtooth plan, we also increased the public realm below, and also, I'll come to it in a little while, created very large, what they now call super lobbies. And super lobbies again, it's another iteration, I think, of how developers are moving forward. They're beginning to understand that community and people and place is incredibly important. So they create these very large lobby areas which have areas for community use, whether it be a small library here, whether it be a small cinema, for instance, or particular areas for those residents to use. But good development's also about thinking about those people that this development affects, and I think that's very relevant, obviously, for HS2. In Stavanger in Norway, we were asked to, again, look at a development which had a very sort of a big walled type development. Now, what that did not only was to create a very complex no sense of community for those people living there, but it also completely cut off the views for the residents behind. So what did we do? Well, we thought, okay, how can you minimize the footprint and then lift those buildings up off the floor, creating better public space and creating a series of towers that are sculpted to their environment. So all the parking and the storage, which is incredible, you know, the Norwegians love their storage, and in fact, they have very, very stringent rules in terms of the huge amount of storage that they need to include. So wind is a huge issue. Snow loading is obviously a huge issue. But making sure everybody has the ability to have south light is also something the Norwegians are incredibly clear about. So everybody has to have some kind of south or sunshine-facing apartment, which means that in terms of sculpting these buildings for the best types of view, for the best types of connectivity between the cores and the apartments, you have these extraordinary, these extraordinary shaped and sculpted buildings. It also means that you have much, much larger space for public realm. And the Norwegians love their sport, and they love their sense of open space. From a sensible overhang to allow you to not be completely rained or snowed upon when you go into your building, to incorporating children's play areas on the ground floor, I think is also something that by just lifting, by doing small steps or small thoughts can really make a huge, big difference. I just also wanted to touch upon the mix, because I wasn't going to do that, but I wanted to, particularly in relation to wellness and happiness, because I think the mix of apartments is absolutely crucial. So we're not just talking about 1 or 2 bedroom apartments, we're talking about apartments that allow families, elder generation, younger generation, to be together. And I was brought up in a commune and lived from a very early age with my great-great-grandmother, who, in terms of wellness and old age, lived to 111. I was trying to find our doctor friend. The eldest, she was in the Guinness Book of Records, oldest woman in Great Britain. So I think there's a lot to say about making sure that, that you have that healthy mix, not only of ages and obviously huge diversity in those people living and living in your apartment building. And this just shows if you're one of those people affected by this development, that you can just see straight through it. There's an opportunity here to create development, not just for yourself, not just for that developer, but for those people behind. Swiftly moving on to time, because I've been called. Time. I'm just going to read this out again. HS2 committed to deliver on time, on budget, and without compromise. Obviously, they had to get that one in. The project will, however, not stop at the end of the line. It will be built to endure and, most importantly, evolve over future generations. Adaptability, experience, and creativity. So how will they know when they've succeeded? They will know when it's adapt to future needs, that it's demonstrated to customers that their time is valued, and that there's time to design. I think that is actually super, super important and something I'm very, very focused on, making sure that there is enough time to design quality. And I don't just mean design in the sense, but I'm very preoccupied at the moment, for instance, thinking about how to design the system, make sure the procurement's correct right from the beginning so that the opportunities aren't closed down later on. I just included this project for you because it is run on train tracks, and I thought that really I should. So talking about adaptability and talking about something that is able to change over time, Sliding House is a project that responds to the seasons and the time of day. In a part of the UK where you can see the weather coming, it's in Norfolk, you can see the weather coming, approaching a couple of hours away. You can change and adapt your environment accordingly. The house adjusts itself to vary its insulation depending on the time of day. So on a glorious spring day, you can completely open up the house and have your bath in the morning or in the evening. You don't need to cover it up at all. If it's very hot or very cold, you would close the super insulated roof and walls to make sure that you captured the heat of the day for the rest of the day. This is so energy efficient that it sells any electricity it makes back to the local grid. What it also does is open up opportunities for space that may not exist at all. So you have an empty space that suddenly becomes space. So you can enjoy, and I think joyfulness and fun is something so super important in every single thing that we do. And I don't know if I can bring fun and joyfulness to the HS2 team, but I'm jolly well trying. And if I achieve anything, it will be exactly that. Because actually, however and whatever you design, and however and whatever you design it for, if you can spend an evening and look at the stars in your own house without going outside, I think that's a very wonderful thing. I have 2 minutes left because this is my pitch. Okay, I am chair of the design panel. I do not yet have a design panel. That's it's beginning to start. And my aim is to create a group of people, a panel of people from all different disciplines, yes, but who will change over time. So at present, the High Speed 2, as you can imagine, it's going, the program is going incredibly quickly. But they have 3 chapters. Chapter 1, early civil and procurement, 2 stations, 3 the rolling stock and 4 the railway systems. Now, with a group of people, each one of those will inflate, each number of those types of people will inflate depending on what chapter we're going through. At the moment, we're going through chapter 1. And so I'll be looking very hard for interested people and parties to be part of the panel that will be not, I hope, just holding HS2 to account at different gateways, but to help mentor and support the team as they go through. I think this is crucially important. I think the whole process of HS2 and how it delivers what is incredibly ambitious ambition, if that's a word, is really about showing great example. It's not about practice that's happening now. It's about future practice. It's not about benchmarking what's going on. It's about thinking hard about what will happen in the future. And for that, we need great thinkers. We need great practitioners. We need philosophers. We need a whole group of people who will come and question in a way that HS2 doesn't expect to be questioned. So I'm incredibly keen, not clear. I doubt I've been incredibly clear, but I'm incredibly keen that throughout this process, we are able to articulate to HS2 quite how important design is. All the way through that will be, I think, community. All the way through that will be the people and the users who will be using and being part of HS2. So I do hope you'll consider when that job ad comes out to go for it. Thank you.